Welcome back to another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, your podcast host, and I am here with my friend and colleague, Dietrich, and I am super pleased for you all to get to hear from him. So without further ado, Dietrich, thank you so much for saying yes to being on the podcast.
Perfect. Thank you.
And tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you are, so they have some context for our conversation.
Perfect. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I've been always a fan of your podcast, so being part of it is amazing. So my name is Dietrich Willke, and you see the flags here. So even though I don't look German, I'm actually German. Moved to Brazil when I was 7, and then in 1997, I transferred all my credits to the United States. So I graduated from Indiana University. I have 4 majors and 2 masters from Indiana University. And the
Wow.
way that I was able to pay for all of this is because in 1999, having to pay for college and couldn't, I finally found someone way crazy saying that you can make money selling door to door during the summer. And I told him, like, can you make $40,000? That's how much I have to pay. And like, can do whatever. So I joined him. I sold my first summer. I paid my college my first. I became the top 5%. The second year I joined as a recruiter. I had a team of 5 people, and my team did very well. We got it at the top, and that's what allowed me to pay for college, for my master's. I was able to sing in opera in New York. So this is how I came to be.
Okay, wait, pause. Okay, so first of all, let me just make sure you have how many bachelors and how many masters?
I'm one of those weird kids. So I got a double degree in 4 years. So I have 4 majors and 2 masters that I did from 1997 till 2004 in all of this.
Wow. Okay, so tell me, give me the quick rundown on what your degrees are.
So I have a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Psychology. I have a Bachelor of Science with a major in Marketing, Business Administration, International Studies. I have a performance degree in voice, and I have a master's in public management, and I have a master's in nonprofit management with a specialization of fundraising from the only school of philanthropy in the world that's in Indianapolis. That's my rundown.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you also have a performing arts piece there. So did you
Well,
say
I
that you
sang
sang?
since I was young. I always sang. So as quick note, in Germany, that's why they're so good in the Olympics and everything else. But Germany, when you are 3 years old, every German goes through a lot of testing. So they test you on all of the abilities. And if they find something special, they already plan you, right? So when I
Okay.
was, they already told my mom, Dietrich is very good in music. So had I stayed in Germany, I would already have started all the music background. So
Okay.
when I was 4 or 5, I already sang. And from there, I was like the piano when I was young and all of this stuff. And then I fell in love. And then I went to Indiana University for that reason. Indiana University is the #1 school in music in the United States. And from there, I was able then to sing with the director of the Metropolitan. We did Carmen. And then when I graduated, she invited me to actually do Carmen for the Met. So
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, man, you have such a diverse background. So you're living in Brazil now, correct?
back in Brazil after so I'm here because of the pandemic, right? My parents, they adopted Brazil as their country. So we don't have family in
Okay.
Brazil, but I moved to Brazil when I was 7. So my sister lived in London. I was in California before the pandemic, right? Working for Southwestern Consulting. And then when the COVID happened, I told my sister, like, thank God I have a job where I can work anywhere in the world.
Anywhere. Okay.
So I actually battled back, and I came back in April of 2020, right in the top when
Right
people,
in the height of everything.
and I
Wow.
got COVID. So I actually got COVID coming back, and then I remained. So we actually got in isolation here in Brazil for 2 years in my house here with my parents, which for some people might be horrendous. For me, it was like a God-given gift because I left young. I see my parents every year, so the only promise I did is that I would always spend Christmas with them, so I'd never not miss Christmas with them,
Yeah.
where I was in the world. But to be connected as an adult, which I never really had, because every time I came back, I came. That's what people
That's
don't
a
realize.
that's been a real blessing for you. Yeah, that's been
Yeah,
a real
because I
blessing.
came back as a by the holiday. So my
Yeah.
parents never really saw me perform or saw me doing it as a professional. I was always sleeping, going out, parties, right? And the first time my parents like, oh, you actually work.
You're
Right?
like, yes, I do work.
Right?
Speaking
And this,
speaking of work, I want to hear about your passion because you really bring your passion into your work. So share what you're most passionate about.
so yes, I talked to you very briefly, but one of the things that really motivated me to get psychology, sociology, and become an expert in personal development was because I always was very angry when people would tell me, ah, Dietrich, only you can do it. I would never be able to do it, which I never really got because I'm like, well, I'm like you. I have 24 hours the same. I have a lot of problems. I also doubt myself. I cry it like I have all these problems, and people would always tell me like, oh, only like, of course you can do it. So that actually spurred me to actually find out why are people different? What motivates people to get what they want, and what makes people believe they cannot, even though we're the same.
Mm,
Same, right? They have the same emotions. So my biggest passion is to identify and help people to find their self, the best version of themselves. That comes through actually really understanding the purpose. Because I always ask myself, if a bee has a particular importance in the world, and if the bee disappears, a lot of plants would disappear and flowers would disappear. I cannot fathom that we as humans, the bigger brain, don't have a purpose. So I
yeah.
tell this people didn't just get here to do nothing. There is a need for us, and we need to find that need because once we align it and we find that, the motivation is unendless. That's when you have those people, or we see the films of people that
Yes.
everything
Yes.
fall down and get up, fall down and get up. They don't give up, and
So
eventually they go.
you had mentioned briefly to me that you have done some NLP.
Yes.
Explain what that is, and so that way, because I'm very passionate about neurolinguistics, and so I want my audience to hear a little bit more from you on that.
It's funny, right? So I fell into NLP on a total accident. What happened is when I was in Brazil, so through all this craziness, I worked for the government. I found out that I worked in the budget office for Broward County with my master's degree, right? Because I wanted to help the world. And then I realized that the government doesn't help as I thought it would help. That's when I reconnected with Southwestern. Southwestern was Success Starts Now. So that's something I don't know if you knew. I actually was hired before Emmy, right? But I couldn't get it because I was international. And at that time, Bush was in and they couldn't give me the visa. So I was forced to go back to Brazil. And one day, Dustin, like the executive said, we want you, and one day will happen. And actually happened because now we can do virtual, right? That's
Right.
I had to wait a long time. But when I came back to Brazil, I started giving English lessons to executives. I had to start all over everything. I'm like, I speak 5 languages fluently. So I'm like, you know what? I can teach English and maintain myself in the business realm by teaching it to executives. That way, if something comes up, I can always, right? I can jump back in. Um, because I'm German, there came a point that one of my clients, he was a director for one of the big four, KPMG, and he needed English to become partner, right? So I helped him, he became partner. And then when we came to the next class, he looked at me, he's like, you actually don't give me English. You do much more than that. You actually coach,
Mm.
right? And look, it's like, so I'm going to pay you. So, right, to have angels coming through your life. It's like, I'm not paying you anymore as a teacher, I'm paying you as a coach. So you start
Ah, I
paying
like
me.
it.
And I became terrified. I'm like, oh my God, what happens if HR comes in and now asks for a certificate? I don't have a coaching certificate, right? So I went to
Although you
my,
have four bachelors and two masters, and we're worried
but I
about
don't have a, yeah, but I'm
certificate.
not the coach, right? I'm not a certified coach. I was terrified. I did have like a certified coach for the United States, but it was not international. So I'm like,
Right.
so I went after that, and then I found someone saying, teacher, you need to do ICF, like, right? You need
Right.
to get international. So I found my mentor, that's my mentor till now. And and when I was, I was like, I need to make money. This is like a year for certificate. What's happening? So actually, he told me why it's important to actually understand how to become a coach, not just the techniques.
Right.
Offered me, he's looked at me like, you're so passionate. Well, I'm going to give you as a present. Is you're also going to become an NLP practitioner. I'm like, well, I don't know
So
what that is,
tell
but
them
still.
tell them what NLP stands for.
Neuro-linguistic programming. So it's
Yes.
actually the study of how the brain makes decisions and how the brain functions. So an
Yes.
NLP practitioner, now I'm a trainer, so I actually got to the top. So I am certified trainer, so I can actually certify people in NLP. nowadays internationally. I have the international certificate. And what we actually do is help people to identify and understand how the brain functions and makes decisions through modeling, because NLP comes from modeling. So what they did in the past, what the predecessors of NLP did, is they looked at all those people that, for example, Disney, right? And they followed Disney, and they start seeing that there is actually, and that's how the brain works. So nothing is out of the blue. We actually have, the brain is amazing at this, but they actually have a way you can model the process of the brain. And if you
Yes.
actually repeat it, you come to the same answer. So, right, when you have someone that's amazing something, like, what is he doing that I could use? And then we
Right.
can create a system around it to validate. So that's very specific. Nowadays, we're on the fourth wavelength. So NLP has now been open so for example, I just got certified in social panorama, which is the fourth wave of NLP. This guy is from Holland. He's a neuroscientist, right, a doctor, and he's been researching 40 years after this, right? And he proves that we are connected, we're social beings, and he actually created now systems. For example, he has a technique where you can get when you how to say it in English, right? When you miss someone, when someone dies, you go through the process
Grief.
of, thank
Grief.
you, grief. So this is why NLP for me is important. As a psychologist, I'm a psychologist, and as a psychologist, I used to help people abuse women and abuse kids. So that was right in the beginning. I want to save the world. And my goal, and that's why I'm a coach, and that's why I became an NLP practitioner, is that I'm not here just to make money. So I'm always after results. So if I get a quicker result, I will actually leave what I have to go to the quicker result, because that's why I'm here, like, to make it better.
Right.
So that's why I used to be a consultant. I'm not anymore consultant, because consultant, you do something and you have to go back, right? There were changes. Psychology, I had clients 3 years with me. Psychology never changed. Like, oh my God, what do I do? They don't change. They just talk about the same thing. So when I found out coaching and NLP, for the first time in my life, you go through the process and someone comes out to the next out of it. It's like, Dietrich, I did it. I'm like, oh,
Ah,
it's
okay,
like, whoa.
that's a good transition, because when I asked you about, like, what are some limiting beliefs, or a particular limiting belief that you've had to overcome in the course of your journey, I want you to share that, because what you just said, I know, is very much connected to the importance of the limiting belief and how you overcame it. So please share
I have a
about.
very limited belief because of everything that I explained, right? Why it's just Dietrich doing this and whatever not. I studied a lot. So I'm like, I understood in life that the more information you have, the more you have resources, and the more you get where you are, right? But I asked myself, why can not everyone else do it? If I can do it, why not? And that thought, which became limited, put put me in a place where I believe that because I have the knowledge that most people don't, by traveling the world and speaking 5 languages and having this weird multicultural diversity that not everybody has, I created this hero persona saying that you are here to help people to become the best version of themselves based on what I think of my knowledge. And that, even though it sounds amazing and it comes from a very positive place, it is super limited, because we're not here to do that. I'm not here to become an alien in other people's worlds, telling them what they have.
Yep.
I'm here to help them identify who they are, their limitations, and help them with tools for them to become the best version that they think it's important for them, not what I believe. So that's something that NLP and coaching helps, because one of the fundamental truth in NLP and coaching that we need to abide for is that we already have a presumption that humans already have the results, that any human that has a normal functioning brain has all the solutions in their
has
head ready.
has the results already in their head, and our job
Just
is
need
to
to go
help
after
them.
it, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
they
Our
have the
job is to help
solution,
them uncover it. So here's the
right?
thing. You had created this hero persona that you're so knowledgeable and so multicultural and so intelligent that you could see the potential in someone, and you were right? I mean, in the sense of, I
Yeah,
know what you need, right?
what
And
you could do, right? This is what you could do
exactly.
for the world. Why are you not doing it? Right?
Okay, so you had shared with me a particular story that occurred that helped you to recognize, first of all, that it was a limiting belief and to be able to break through that barrier. So tell us about
And
that.
identifying what you just said, just is identifying a limited belief is more important than breaking it, because the problem of a limited belief is that we don't even see it's a limit that's limited.
Exactly. I always say we will not change what we are unwilling or unaware that we need to acknowledge.
And the
So
problem, yeah, and the problem with beliefs is that beliefs. So right, we go into very quickly in NLP. Belief, the 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 power of a belief is that it will prove you every day that the belief is true. So now a limited belief, constant question is to prove you that limited belief exists,
that
right?
it's
Because it's
true,
hard.
right? That's the whole challenge. When it is limiting us, it's because we it becomes the lens through which we experience our entire world, which means for the listener that a limiting belief that we hold, what happens in our life will just affirm what we
The
believe
limited belief,
to be
exactly.
true.
There you
And
go.
that's how we get stuck, is because everything, is just, well, that's exactly why that's true. So you were operating on a limiting belief that you had all the answers for everybody else, right?
And that people would don't, and that's the biggest limited belief. Like people, even if they want it, they don't have because I have more knowledge. So they need to trust my
Ah,
knowledge for them to get where they are because they don't have the knowledge to get there.
and
That's
all
the
right. So
limited.
what happened in your life to help break you out of this hero complex that you had created?
It's, and people might think, why is it limited? It's limited because if I don't see potential in someone based on my knowledge, I will not help them, and that's what limits. Okay.
It's very limiting. Yeah.
So I was with a very good friend of mine, love her, super nice person, horrible in dating, like picked up the worst people ever, always suffered, always very abusive. So, as the hero, without even asking for permission, I'm like, I need to help this person, right? She has so much light, she can do so much. She could, right. And I would be always helping, always coming with solutions. Always, every time I would learn something new in NLP, he would be the first person, like, I need to help you with right? Everything. Like, and I frustrated because she would never abide for it, or she would hear me out and not do it, right? To one point, I actually I remember, spent the whole weekend because I was so frustrated. She was, for my perception, she was in so much pain. She never, and here's the caveat, she never asked for my help, okay? She never came like, I need your help. No, it was my perception that I needed to save her because she didn't know she couldn't see herself suffering, right? So I need to show her she needs to suffer. So I spent the whole weekend.
Dietrich, hold on because you're frozen. So we need to wait. We need to give it an opportunity.
I'm not frozen, right? So, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So I spent the whole weekend on a technique that would help her, right? And I presented it to her on Sunday, super excited. Like, I found the solution. It's going to be awesome. And on Monday, she ignored everything. Literally, she threw everything in the garbage. And at that moment, I became very frustrated, and I actually confronted her. I'm like, you know what? I did all this for you. I've been doing this for years. Right? I see the goodness in you. You're not even respecting it. What the hell? And she calmly sat down. It's like, Dietrich, I love you. We're very good friends. I know you're doing everything from the goodness of your heart, but I never asked you for help. I never
Mm.
asked you for help. I am totally comfortable with the decisions I make and the consequences I have. Like, I'm absolutely, right? I have no problem in failing. I'm totally in it. So what I will ask you, if you continue doing what you're doing, we will not be friends anymore. I will ask you not to even call me because I'm not asking for this. So you're doing stuff that I'm not asking you. So please stop. Well, I was 21, not very good teenage. Oh, today I'm like, oh my God, how could I do this? But I actually became the monster on the movie, like, the witch, like, hi there, you're going to fail your life, you're going to be miserable, and one day you're going to crawl and ask for forgiveness. And maybe then I will think in helping you out. That's what I thought. But what this made me do is because I was so pissed, I'm like, I'm going to prove her wrong. And that is what opened the door for the limit belief. Because once I started becoming more knowledgeable, I started realizing, oh my God, I'm doing the opposite. The only way I can help people is for me to help them without me telling them what to do, is for helping them to identify who they are. And one of the biggest lessons, and I think the biggest limited belief that took me so long, I'm 49. I can tell you that's probably 3 years ago that it came as a, I knew it as a statement, but I still always believed that it could not happen. But it is hard to say it out loud, but you cannot help people that don't want to be helped. And even though it sounds so easy, it is very hard for someone that has all these tools, sees all these results, and sometimes sits next to someone that you technically think you have that they have a problem. But again, I'm not God, so how could I even identify that they need help if they don't ask for help? But we get into those crazy minds and really understand that if someone doesn't want to get help, there's nothing in the world that you can do to help that person.
Yeah. And that's, so I have a question. Are you still friends with your friend who told you?
Yes, and actually, I thank her. So I actually, when I got my NLP trainer degree, I call it like, you are the reason for this. You're the reason that I'm actually able to become a coach. Because had I not done that, I probably would not be flexible enough to be a coach. Because I would
Mhm.
be interfering and not actually abiding by the fundamental rules of being a coach or even an NLP training. So had it not been for her, that had, thank God, the courage to tell me this. Because the problem is when you're so strong-hearted and you have proof, right? When you have proof, it's hard for someone to fight
Yeah.
against you. So
Well,
you have a degree now.
that's an excellent point because that's where I believe the more knowledgeable we are, the more certificates, the more degrees, the more experience that we have, if we are not careful, we elevate ourselves to such a degree that we begin to believe that we are better
There you
and
go.
that other people
What's the limited belief?
that's
Exactly.
right, are incapable. So, I mean, thankful that your friend was willing. Okay, now you will laugh about this because you have met my husband,
Yeah.
but of course, I came into my 30s because I'm 52, right? So I came into my 30s with this whole, independent, self-sufficient, you know, pretty much, even though I knew I didn't know everything, I projected that I knew everything,
Yeah.
right?
That's how we live. That's how we do it, right? That's
Right. And so, I look back now and I just want to put my head down in shame and shake my head and go, oh my word, what was I thinking? Um, you know, it's that realization of I really know nothing, or I know something, but just because I know something doesn't mean I know everything, right? And so I'm hearing you, and my point being, I'm grateful, just like you are, for your friend, because Fred was that person for me, that person of going, right, like you don't know everything. I mean,
or you didn't ask for your help, right? I'm like, even if you knew,
that's right.
why are you coming into my life? I didn't ask for this,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct. And what was interesting is that whole dynamic and all that I learned as a result of it. But you're right, not sometimes we so want to help other people, but they have never asked for our help. And that's incredibly, it's important that we understand that we aren't here to fix people, right? As coaches, we are not here to fix people. And so I want to ask you, like, before we begin to close this out, I would love for you to share, like, as you've worked with people, because you do have the sociology and the psychology backgrounds, the NLP. So for the person listening, right? And they recognize that they've identified some limiting beliefs, right? So we're not talking to the people who don't know what they don't know. We're talking to people who are listening and they recognize they've got some clear limiting beliefs that are holding them back. What practical uh, things
Yeah.
would you share with them to help overcome those limiting beliefs?
The first thing, and that's humbling. So what I'm going to say, it's humbling, and that's why it's important to hear. Unfortunately, we alone cannot overcome a limited belief because the filters are too strong. we can even identify them, but the issue of a limited belief is that it's for most people that are listening to this, they will tell you that it's life. That's how I am, and I just have to cope with this, and that's what it is, right? I have to suffer because it's who I was born with. When you go into NLP, which makes it a little bit tough for people to understand, is that actually we do not see the world like other people. Like everyone in our life, like we as humans, have a map that's created through the brain to transition and to live through this world, but it's not the world. So we don't see the same things, even though we're in the same place, right? Because we are the limited beliefs,
Right.
they filter a lot of shit. So here's the issue is that if you think that it's how you were born, then automatically you cannot even find the solution because, right,
I'm
automatic,
limited. I'm
right?
limited. This is just who I am.
So I always tell people, you need to be very careful. First, what you need to ask yourself, so how does it start? It starts like this belief that I have that bothers me. The first thing is to ask yourself, this belief that comes or the thing that I do because I believe that this is it, how it is, does it help me become the best version of me or not? So I go very, I don't believe in right or wrong because right or wrong is not 100%. It all depends on the circumstances. But you can ask yourself, what this thing that I do every time that I don't know why I do it, or the way that I act on something that comes through my brain, does this help me go through life easy, or does it create a lot of anxiety and pain and stuff?
Mm.
When you hear this over and over, it creates pain, it limits me. You're probably dealing with a limited belief, and then you need to ask for help because it's easy. Actually, there's actually a technique nowadays that you can get the limited belief, and with a 1 hour and a half or 2 or 3 hour session, you can actually eliminate it and transform a limited belief in a positive belief. We got nowadays with the knowledge and technology and all this training from NLP that started back in the 70s, like coaching. That's what I say, right? The beauty of knowledge is that unfortunately people are not identifying how amazing personal development has
Yeah.
become.
Has become.
On
Yeah.
many tools we really have with proof. It's no longer like witchcraft. You have actually neuroscientists and actually scientists that are doctorates that actually have proof. So it becomes very difficult for you to now undermine the technique that we have because they work 99.9%
Of the
if done.
time.
So it becomes hard, right? To some say this is stupid. I'm like, hard. We have too much data right now, and we talk very quickly. Like for example, grief. That's something I had to use a lot for on COVID, right? Grief is a process that's going to be more recurrent moving forward. As a psychologist, it will take me with the current psychology, right, dogma or process, 3 to 5 months to help someone go through grief. NLP, the guy that the Lucas Dirks from the Social Panorama, I can actually get someone out of grief in 1 hour and a half. So I look
Wow.
myself, why would I charge 3 months of psychology sessions if I can in one session get you
Wow.
through?
Yeah.
Right. So this is how I think, right? Because I'm here to help people to get where they need if they ask for it, right? And that's the beauty and the difference between NLP and coaching and psychology, because I always have to make that differentiation, right? Psychology deals with problems, right? You come in, you're the expert, you have a brain that's not functioning normal. And that's a caveat, right? I cannot do coaching or NLP with someone that has a problem with the brain.
Problem.
We
Yeah.
can do
Right.
coaching NLP
There's
with normal brains, right? You cannot be depressed,
normal
you cannot have,
brains. Yes.
if you're depressed, if you have bipolarism, you cannot do coaching, you cannot do NLP unless you have a letter from a psychologist saying that you can, right?
Hmm.
Those are the laws, right? If you're going to the
So the
international,
one thing that I'm hearing that I think is so important with what you're saying is that once you've identified something that you're asking yourself that question, is this helping me or hurting me? That's kind of the way I like
correct,
simplify
the
it.
same thing.
And
It's
once
my
you,
life easy, right? Is my life
right,
easy to do that, or
right.
is it difficult?
Once you recognize, okay, this is not helping me. This needs to change. The thing that I want to highlight here for my audience is what you're saying with someone with all of the background and the degree that you have is at that point you need to get help
Yes.
because a limiting belief is they're so strong. Our ability to to change it on our own
Possible.
is
It's
so
impossible.
it's so
It is
difficult.
impossible.
So,
That's why coaching is so powerful. And I shared Federer, right? Roger Federer. I know, but the father of Roger Federer, the tennis, right? The number one player in tennis. The father and my father worked at the same company. So it's a very good question, like just to prove to you how important it is.
okay, okay.
And really believe. So me and my father, they worked together, right? And then I got the same promotion at the same time. Roger's father, they could choose between Brazil and South Africa. I always kid around with Roger because had they switched, he would never play tennis because Brazil didn't have tennis at the time.
Okay.
Africa, right? So we went through it, right? So he came to Brazil 2019 to play, right? For show. And the father invited us. And one of the things that I learned from life that I'm not scared of asking questions. I don't care if people don't ask as many questions as I can to actually get what I want. So I had the opportunity to meet with Federer, and I asked him, I'm like, Federer, I have one question. It's like, there was a year where you didn't have a coach. Why? And he's like, no one ever asked me this question. I'm like, yeah, I'm just curious, right? I'm a coach, so I want to know
Yeah,
why.
right.
Right? And he looked at me, he's like, interesting you asked that. That year, I had broken all of the records, right? Was number one in everything. So I was the benchmark. So I really believed that at that point, I didn't need a coach, like, right?
Mm,
Because there's no one better than me. So why would I need a coach, right? And then I looked at it, like, that's interesting because that year you didn't win, you lost half of the things you used to, right? You didn't have a very good year. And it looked like not just that. What people don't know is that I hurt myself even more. Like my year was horrible. So I'm like, so, and it looks like, and that's when I realized why we need coaching. The coach is important because he sees something that I cannot see because I function on high level. So even though I have the capability to become a top performer, I need to have someone outside ask me questions like, I see that you do every time you do this, you move your hand like this. Why? And then
yeah.
because you're an expert, you go in there, it's like, oh my God, I don't need that. I can do it better, right? So if you don't have someone from the outside looking at your limitations, there's
Yes.
no way you can better yourself.
Yeah.
And we need to be humble,
Because again, we can't see what we can't see, and we will
right?
not change what we do not see. So
And let's
it's
face it, right? It's the same thing as you pay for doing by exercise, right? You know for a fact that if you have a personal, you get better results quicker as if you do alone. There's no one that can tell
hands
me,
down,
right?
hands down,
So
hands
why don't
down.
get the coach to get quicker? Because the only reason why a coach is great is because he will force you to do stuff that you would probably not do alone.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So to wrap this up, I ask all of my guests. I've so enjoyed our conversation. I'll definitely have to have you on again because I'd like to get in a little bit more in depth on the NLP and some of those pieces. But for
Like,
today, I would love for you to share because the podcast is called Thinking That Matters because I am passionate about helping people cultivate thinking that matters. So, what would you say is the reason why it is important that we cultivate thinking that matters?
for me, it's so nice because I love to be part of thinking that matters because the only way for you to be present and understand where you are is through thinking that it actually go through a process of thinking. What I am scared nowadays is that I see a lot of zombies. We think we're alive, but there's so many people that are not alive. They're not thinking anymore, right? They just go through the process of living.
Mm.
They don't question anything anymore. They just get it face value. So the only way to do everything we're doing for you to find your purpose, for you to even identify, does this help you or not? Because people don't even go even there anymore.
Right.
No one thinks down, it's like, the way I live, is that actually hurting me, helping me? People don't think anymore. They just act, right? They just wake up and
Good
just
point.
robots
Good
and
point.
do stuff. So thinking that matters is so important because you need to always question yourself at the end of the day. Did I do the best that I can? Is what I'm doing actually really helping me? Am I still aligned to my purpose? Are my values still being honored? If you don't do this on a regular basis, we fall into that's NLP.
Interesting.
Fall into
It's
mechanism.
interesting that you the way you said it is we become zombies, right? Because we're not thinking about
Not
what we're
alive.
thinking about. We're just in this perpetual state of
Surviving.
yeah.
Survival.
That is
And
so
and
that is
you don't
so
know that you're alive because when we don't have
yes.
purpose, we're not alive. When we don't know
Yeah.
why we're here, we don't know what we do, right? That's really terrifying when you see someone that you ask, "Are you happy?" I'm like, "Well, this life is like this, right? I wake up, I work, go to bed." When I hear this, I'm like, "Oh my God, I doubt that God puts us to do this. Like this is so against
just to
everything.
survive. Right. Yeah. That is
That's supposed to be.
so,
Just wake up, you do this, and like
that's so,
and
I
people
love
ask me
it.
what the purpose is. They're like, I have no purpose because I don't. Even worse, I'm in a job that I hate that doesn't create anything good, so I have nothing. That's for me like the worst case
Yeah.
scenario. Like you're here doing something you don't like. You're not offering anything better for the world. Why are you here? Right?
Yeah. No, I so appreciate this, just our conversation, our time together. Thank you so much, Dietrich, for sharing, especially from that wealth of experience and background that you have. And I want to encourage our viewing audience, be sure to connect with Dietrich on LinkedIn. We'll make sure to drop those links in on the show notes so that you know how to connect with him and to follow what he is doing. I'll definitely have you back on the show so that we can dive more deeply in on that. So, everyone, I just want to encourage you with some key things that I pulled from Dietrich. One, we do need to be thinking about what we're thinking about. That we need to really ask ourselves the hard questions. Is this helping me? Is this hurting me? Those things that we identify that are hurting, that are not helping us live into our purpose, be the best version of ourselves, we need to ask for help. And that that's so incredibly important to our being able to be successful in cultivating thinking that matters. Because as you know, that I always like to say, when we cultivate thinking that matters, we can live a life that truly
Man,
matters. Thanks so much, Dietrich. Appreciate you.
caveat. Don't ask help for anyone that doesn't have a certification. Like, right? Don't ask your mother or your friend. Go to a professional that's
That's
certified, that's doing it for more than 5 years, that actually has a reputation. There's so many people who
yes,
do that, but they're not. Go to
yes.
that actually has degrees. At that level, yes, you need to find someone like that.
I love it. Thanks so much, Dietrich. Appreciate you.